Hello gamers, this is GoldDemon12 back with another Zenless Zone Zero video. Today I want to talk about free-to-play tips and tricks because I am a gamer and I just wanted to help anybody out who's new to the game or maybe wanted to learn a couple things before hopping into the game, what mistakes to avoid, all that stuff. So let's get into it. So with the launch of Zenless, Hoyoverse has made a very interesting change that you have not seen in any of their previous games. There's actually going to be a difficulty mode for the story. Now, there is something important to note here. Between the two different difficulties, there's going to be casual mode and challenge mode. There is no reward difference. Let me make that clear. Zero reward difference for playing on challenge mode. Challenge mode is simply the fact that you don't get pre-made characters and, well, things will be tougher, like the combat and everything. So that's just going to be up to players who actually want to feel something in combat and not exclusively for the story, or if you have a skill issue. That's really about that. So pick accordingly. This is also something you can change pretty much at any time, so it's not final in case you were worried about locking into one of the modes or not. There's also an additional hard mode that unlocks after you clear the chapter that does have additional rewards. You may have seen something like this in other gacha games where you clear stage and then a harder version stage unlocks to get more rewards. This is going to be something that players are probably not going to be able to clear initially, so don't worry about not being able to beat hard mode. Your main goal when starting a new game, especially a new gacha game, is to just progress at your own pace, or if you are trying to be ahead of everybody and keep up with everything, you're going to want to progress fast, and hard mode is probably not one of the things you want to focus on, unless of course you intend to maximize every single little reward. I would say there's no reason to worry about it, just focus on your own experience and actually clearing the content at your own time. There's no need to rush in any of these games, the content will be there when you want to play it. Except for events, obviously, but that's a whole nother thing. Main story, don't forget to clear the main story. I know a lot of people like to get sidetracked and do other things, however, the main story is going to be important. The main story in these games is always how you unlock new additional content, and so it's going to be worth focusing on that first if you do want to progress. I would say only start doing side content once you run out of story to do and or need to level up. This will also vary depending on however many dailies you've completed that day and however much XP you get from your dailies accordingly. Of course, there's going to be the endgame modes and other various things to give us XP, but the main thing when you're starting out is to focus on the story and then worry about doing the side content once you have unlocked everything. Something that fans of the Hoyoverse games may be familiar with is the star/challenge system. Just like in Honkai Impact, Zenless Zone Zero will have a challenge system for their story missions. This is going to be little missions to do in each mission that you're going to want to complete to progress even further and get resources. Make sure you complete these, as if you miss out on them, you're going to have to possibly track down which ones you missed and go through all the stories accordingly. So instead of wasting time, make sure you complete these the first time you complete the mission. If you ever get stuck or in a progress block, of course, you can go to the side missions and then come back to the main story to progress even further for additional resources. NPCs, just like in the other Hoyoverse games, some NPCs might have special dialogue interactions or give you special resources, so don't forget to check on specific NPCs. You'll probably see a lot of people posting videos about, hey, this NPC has a hidden interaction to give you free stuff. So don't forget to check NPCs every once in a while, or just go around and check every NPC if you want, just to make sure you've got all your bases, covered, right, in terms of getting stuff and progressing in the game. Something that's new that I found out recently is that apparently you can dismantle your upgrade materials and fuse them together. So if you wanted to upgrade an upgrade material to upgrade a new character, and you have a bunch of the small rarity ones, you can fuse them together and get a higher rarity one, obviously at a specific rate. The new thing here in comparison to their other games is going to be the dismantle feature. It seems that you'll be able to dismantle the materials and back into those lower rarity ones if you're trying to upgrade a character, or if you were to, let's say, overfarm for a specific resource. This is something I think is very cool and a huge quality of life for the game overall, and I would love to see this be put in their other games, because this is just going to make life a whole lot easier, and there won't be nearly as many mistakes in terms of overfarming for a character. Important thing to keep in mind is your missions. Every week you'll be given a new set of missions from the Battle Pass, and will be important to keep up with, as well. This will be how you progress your Battle Pass to get additional resources. As well as daily, you'll also receive missions for the same thing. Don't forget to try to complete these, as this will be key to progressing in the game. Additionally, you'll be getting daily missions from the game in general. These are going to be what you complete to get your daily amount of resources. It's typically going to be 60 polychromes, so that's going to be how you get a good portion of your summons over the course of an update while playing the game. Additionally, for the in-game modes, there will be weekly missions to clear out, so don't forget to do those once you do get to that point. Number one thing to do as a free-to-play, don't let your stamina overcap. If you do this, you are cringe, and that's really it. If you do let your stamina overcap, there's no need to worry about it. However, it is best to always make sure you use your stamina before it caps out, because otherwise you won't be able to get more stamina. One of the number one things to do as a free-to-play is don't waste resources. I make this mistake a lot. I've done this a lot in every gacha game where I will spend resources on whatever character or try to level them all up. I would recommend don't doing that. I know there's a lot of people that are, completionist side of things that play these games. However, you got to be careful. Do not level up everybody when you're starting out. Be careful when spending your resources and stick to one team. You're going to probably, especially if you're worried at all about meta or building a specific character you like, you're going to want to focus on a team around that specific character. So let's say you're Ellen Joe enjoyer. Okay, well, don't level up everybody. Be careful who you level up. Pick the team you intend to use for Ellen Joe. Perhaps even look up the character. This is the number one thing I recommend to do that a lot of people just completely forget about. Look up team comps online and then do the research for yourself to see who works out for that character. This will be the best way for you to enjoy that character, as you'll be able to maximize them. And plus, you'll have a bunch of nerds online that will tell you, hey, this is how, the best play the character, and so on, right? It'll be extremely helpful for you, and it'll even help you, save resources. And so that's the number one thing I want to do. Just keep in mind of who you are using and leveling up, right? You don't want to spend way too many resources on a character you probably won't end up using. And this goes more into team building for the game. The main thing you'll have is the main DPS, a character that's going to get your supportive effects, right? So someone who's going to help you with defense or, increase your offensive capabilities, and somebody that's going to help debuff the enemies or stun them, right? For example, that Ellen Joe team, you're going to want Ellen as the main DPS, Vaughn as the stunner, and then Sakaku as the support character who's going to buff both of their damage. Most of the time when playing this, the main DPS character will be on field, so keep that in mind accordingly. I know a lot of people will like a certain character more than over one, and you may be upset that they're not main DPS, but try not to let that get to you too much. You'll still be using the character in whatever team you do end up using. Due to how team building works in Zenless Zone Zero, you're going to want characters of different elements for different teams, or of the same faction for different teams. For example, using that same Ellen team as an example, Ellen gets a support buff for up to 30% damage bonus on her ice damage. However, this requires either ice characters or this goes for all characters, right? Their core ability, their core passive is what you're going to be focusing on for team building primarily, as this is where you'll be getting a good portion of your buffs. And well, who would want to miss out on 30% damage, right? That's just ridiculous. This can lead you to wanting a main DPS for each element, but I would not worry about that early on in the game. That's not something that you really should be worrying about when you're just starting out. Victoria housekeeping characters. So you don't have to use Vaughn. However, Vaughn, of course, would work for either one of those conditions. This won't double up. This will just be a way to activate either one. If let's say Ellen was a different element, you would still get the Victoria housekeeping bonus on there. Circle back to using your stamina, don't let it overcap. The main recommendation here is to farm for resources, for those characters that you'll need to level them up, etc. I would not recommend to farm for the relics or disk drives in this game, the disk drives being the relics, as this is very inefficient at the lower levels. Once you hit a certain level, in this game level 40, you'll be able to more effectively farm those relics. A note about weapons is I wouldn't invest too much into 3-star weapons, as they typically get beat out by 4-star options, especially with a game like this when stats matter a lot. So if you are early on in the game, I wouldn't go too crazy in terms of spending resources on the 3-star, and would save more of those for a 4-star weapon that you would get in the future. And just like Genshin and Honkai, they'll have weekly bosses in this game. Don't forget to do those, especially when you're new to the game, as this will give you a required material for upgrading the character's talents or skills, right, further. So I did just mention earlier that you'd be getting more relics at level 40. I would not stress about set bonuses if you're familiar with the system of sets, like relic sets from other Hoyoverse games. A lot of characters gain power from getting the full set. There's no reason to worry about getting the full set early on. It's really tough to farm for a full set, especially because you need specific subsets on each character. It's 100% okay to go for a 2-piece over a 4-piece set if you've got good subs on it. This is something you'll keep in mind when building characters. Don't force yourself into a bottleneck for no reason. At the same time, be careful spending resources on these disk drives. You don't want to accidentally spend one on one that wasn't worth it, and the resources will be very limited early on in the game. At the same time, do not level the lower rank ones. Anything below A rank will be completely obsolete once you get further on in the game. Alright, now on to the currencies. Every update will be given a certain amount of currencies for both the standard banner and the limited banner. If you're at all confused about the gacha system, go check out my video going over the gacha system. It will be on my channel. You'll see it. I'll also put it in the description. That being said, just like in that video, I'm going to iterate in this video. Be careful when spending your polychromes. Polychromes is going to be the premium currency you get for completing missions in this game, and your dailies. Each update is going to have a certain amount of polychromes. At the current moment, we do not know how many polychromes that we'll be getting. It is estimated the actual number of summons we'll get is about 154. Now, this is a estimate. We do not know. Actually, we're going off information from closed beta test 2 and 3. This is the launch of the game at 1.0, so I do not expect this pull income to be the same going forward. Currently in this update, again, the estimation is just the premium currency stuff. In terms of standard banner stuff, we'll be getting about 129 of those. These numbers are from various sources, so take it with a grain of salt. None of them can be 100% certain until the game is live, as of course it is information gathered from the beta. That being said, what should you spend your polychromes on? I recommend to never spend your polychromes on standard banner. If you spend your polychromes on standard banner, you will be missing out on opportunities to pull a new limited character and or their weapon. Of course, you may see some people, and this has happened often inside of other Hoyo games, where people have purchased the wrong master tapes. In this game's case, are Acquainted Fates, are tickets. They purchased the wrong one. They had gone and purchased the ones for the standard banner. Very unfortunate scenario because there's no way to convert them back and or use them on the other banner. So if you mess this up and accidentally spin them on the other banner, you're out of luck there. So be careful on which banner you're clicking on, and be careful, and if you like to convert them into, their summon currency multiple at a time, be careful which one you're clicking on. You're going to make sure you want to click on the correct one. I've seen way too many people make this mistake. Don't be one of those people who post over on Reddit that I messed up. At the same time, as what I said earlier, we'll be getting a certain amount of pulls per update. I would guess this is going to be around 70 minimum. I would not expect less. However, we'll have to see where Hoyoverse takes us in this, as both Genshin and Honkai Impact, their other really popular games, have various pull incomes per update. Honkai typically sits around 100 plus, where Genshin typically sits around 60 to 70. Again, this is going to differ a lot based on various events and the content output of this game. We'll have to see what that's like going forward. But let me reiterate, be careful what you summon on, as you won't be able to get that currency back, right? It's limited currency, so you gotta be careful. And speaking of that, the standard banner. In my previous video, I did cover the standard banner, of course. The TLDR of that is that it does have a beginner banner baked into it. Unlike Star Rail and unlike Genshin, the beginner banner is not separate. They have combined it with the standard banner. And in this case, they also took Honkai Star Rail's amazing fan favorite feature of having a 300 character selector. That's right, in this game, once you summon the first 300 times on standard banner, you'll be able to pick whichever S rank character you want. While this may be appealing to some, I'm going to again reiterate for the third time now, do not spend polychromes on this banner. Every update will be getting a certain amount of standard banner pulls from the game and various different means. Whether it be the monthly refresh of the shop where we get extra standard currency and limited currency, or it will be via the battle pass or other, means from events and so on to get standard banner summons. So while you won't be able to initially get the 300 for your selector, you will be able to get it relatively soon, right? As the two banners are baked into each other. And so over time, as you're playing the game, you will eventually hit that 300 and be able to pick one of the 5-star characters of your choice. But before that initial beginner banner, of course, is a discounted multi that will give you one of the 5 stars early. That one is not a selector, so you would be able to choose accordingly after pulling for, your early 5-star character versus the one that will be on the selector. Now, that being said, I'm sure you would love to know which one I would recommend pulling. I'm going to save that for another video, right? I don't want this one to be too long. I want this one to be short and sweet, or as short as I can be. I do like to yap. Apologies. It is what it is. Without with that being said, I've been Gold Demon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch, and I'll see y'all in the next one.